And I think we hear this a lot with people on our podcast or some of our clients, is that they're like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for too much and I want to keep asking for more. But we have to remember that we are in service of others when we make those asks a lot of times, because they will not feel ready to go to the next step unless you are opening that door for them.
Success is a lie if you're failing inside. You can't grow a business you hate. Welcome to the Business Reality Check.
Welcome to the Business Reality Check podcast. I'm Jonna.
And I'm Lori. Together we founded Thrive Collective. We're here because we're passionate about helping you show up as the expert you actually are. We know you didn't start your business to become a full-time marketer, and we're tired of seeing great business owners say the best kept secret.
We believe that your online presence should be a true reflection of your expertise, not a source of constant stress. If you're tired of staring at a blank screen, frustrated with graphics that don't look professional, or feeling like you're wasting hours on apps instead of with your clients, you're in the right place.
This podcast is about having the honest conversations that take the guesswork out of your strategy. We're here to help you move past the walls that you've built and help you get in front of your dream clients. We do this with kindness and radical clarity because you deserve a business that works for you, not against you. And if you want to see our faces and feel like you're right here in the room with us, head over to youtube.com/@BizRealityCheckPod to watch, or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Check the podcast notes for all the links and resources from today's episode. And if you're ready for a reality check of your own, we've also included the link to apply to be a guest. We'd love to hear your story.
All right, let's jump into today's episode.
Today, we're sitting down with Melissa Bishop, who is no stranger to hard work. She walked through her own patterns, her own healing, her own hard seasons, and came out the other side with a passion for helping other people do the same. That is how Wholehearted Studio was born. She offers coaching, Reiki, intuitive readings, human design, EFT tapping, Akashic records, mediumship, and Reiki certifications. She helps people who feel stuck in cycles they cannot get out of finally find their way back to themselves. She is booked Tuesday through Saturday, sometimes 6 days a week, but every client energizes her. She wakes up excited about her work. The work is not the problem. The problem is that the coaching program is just not filling. So despite that full schedule, financially, every month is a little bit of a question mark. She told us that she started this business to support others in self-love and wholeness. And right now she spends most of her time trying to find new clients. And we have to ask, in the middle of all that, is she leaving any room to show herself that same love? Let's dive in. Melissa, welcome to the Business Reality Check.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you here. So I want to start off with kind of a question for you. So you've built a practice that's clearly working, but you've kind of hit, a ceiling in your current business. If you're honest with yourself, what is one thing, whether it's a habit, a fear, or a specific part of your process, that is stopping you from reaching your full potential and scaling past this kind of like one-on-one place?
Well, I'm always honest. I mean, I know exactly what it is. Sometimes it's just about having the conversation to ask people to take that bigger step, because I always want to honor people's paths. But sometimes if you don't ask, you don't know. So putting myself forward more with the offer is what I'm working on now. And I think that's going to help alleviate some of the stress of the day-to-day grind.
Absolutely. And I think we hear this a lot with people on our podcast or some of our clients, is that they're like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for too much and I want to keep asking for more. But we have to remember that we are in service of others when we make those asks a lot of times, because they will not feel ready to go to the next step unless you are opening that door for them. And so let's keep that in mind as we move forward into this conversation. But I want to start off and I want to share a little bit about the audience, or with the audience, about your why. Why did you feel called to this and why did you start this business?
When I was in my 20s, I got clean from drug addiction. And the first counselor I saw was this older gentleman. And I come in, I've done everything. I've tried everything. I'm exhausted. I'm like, I'm just not a good person. I can't stop doing this thing that's destroying my life. And he sat me down. Before he asked me any assessment questions, he says, put your hand out. And I put my hand out. And mind you, I'm in my early 20s. I'm a punk at this point. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Right. And he's probably 60. Right. And I put my hand out. I'm like, and he hands me this rock. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have come to the loony bin. Right. So he says, now turn it over. And when I did, there was this beautiful agate quartz inside. And he leaned into me and he said, I know there's a beautiful girl waiting to come out. You just need to find her. And I like broke down, like tears flowing. And it wasn't so much what he said. It was that I knew he believed it. I knew he believed in me. And I've carried that all these years, that sometimes we need that one person who believes in our ability to change for us to take the step. And that's what I do. I truly believe that people can change, but sometimes they need that one person that they know is truly believes in their ability until they can believe it in themselves. And then it's like they're just running a marathon, and I love to watch that. But we all have those sticking points. So that's my why. I love to give back what was given to me that day, because it saved my life. And after I got clean, I went to school and I became a drug and alcohol counselor. I ended up with a job at the same facility, and he was still there. And I walked in and I was like, Walt, you saved my life. And I gave him this big hug, and it's true. He saved my life. So sometimes people are living other people's lives. They're not living in their full power, and they need that person to say, you got this. And I know you can do it.
Thank you so much. That's definitely a very vulnerable, honest, compassionate, passionate, all the things share. And if you're listening, I really hope that you're going to the same places that Melissa goes. She is a deeply loving, authentic person. And that's not an easy thing to just put out there for who knows who to hear. And Melissa made it very clear. Her being here is also for you. So even right now, if you're listening, this is certainly dedicated to you. This is a more nuanced and, I want to say, deeper experience than we've had with a lot of people because of your background. So congratulations on all of the things you've accomplished. You should be so proud. And I just want to make sure we underline that throughout this, the kind of love that you give. We want to make sure we pour back into you during this session too. So I think a lot of people can resonate. I think whether we've been through what you've been through specifically or parallel, something like it, there's trauma, trauma in business, college life, whatever, there's something for most of us. So, if this stirs that up and you feel safe to continue exploring with us, keep listening. If this doesn't feel super safe, maybe come back when you feel ready to listen to this episode. But, so hearing where you started from and this amazing journey, even just while you were there and, where you got your first start, and now we're going to fast forward through a bunch of time. And now we're here today. And you mentioned a little bit about your vision. So you talked to us a little bit about having like a center for wellness or something like that. I thought it might be fun to hear a little bit more about, when did you start to realize that what you're doing now with more of that one-on-one and your vision for that wellness center? When did you recognize these are two very different things? And is that wellness center still in your mind's eye for where you'd like to go?
I believe that people are drawn to what they need. I have always enjoyed community. So starting out, I did do it. I wanted it independently, but as it kind of evolved, I was like, well, wouldn't it be great to have this person available for this and this person available for that? Because my healing journey has involved multiple people. And that's just the way it works. You get to a point and you need something else. And so, yes, the center is still in my mind. And I just think it would be beautiful because then you can treat mind, body, and spirit, like truly, if you have other practitioners who can help with maybe herbal health, and then someone who specializes in something in a different area, because I can't be all to everyone. And I don't want to be. I know what I do well and I stick to that. And I would love to have a team that we can work collaboratively together, because that's the other thing. Like, we're all busy. So when we have to go to multiple places, I saw this in my old career with substance abuse treatment. It's like when you had to be in different places all across a week, it's very hard to commit to that when you're a mom and you're working and you're doing all these things. So being a one-stop shop helps people sustain what they're trying to get without putting a lot more stress on them.
Yeah, it kind of gives them a place where they can come for all of their things, as opposed to trying to make appointments at, 10 different places throughout the month. And I was a single mom for a long time, and my daughter's 11 now, and I have a partner now, but it's hard, it's hard to like carve out time for yourself when you're taking care of others. And as women and humans, we take care of other people so often. We're giving so much of ourselves all of the time. And so it's so important to carve out and make that time. And on your side, I love that you try to make it accessible for people, and not that they have to jump through hoops, to try and find that release and that growth from you. I'd love to know, as we kind of move into our who in just a second, I want to kind of know where you are now, in your business. I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing and who you're working with as we kind of move forward into your audience.
I work with so many different people in such a vast age group. It is primarily women, but I also work with males. And I'm seeing them for all different types of pattern breaking that they want to go through. I mean, we are patterned with our conditioning from 0 to 12 years old. So we've got to break those things to truly grow. And I focus mostly on connecting the mind and the body, because most of what we go through is stored in our body. So we're constantly trying to override it with our mind. It's a struggle, and it doesn't have to be that hard. And if I had known that 20 years ago, I would have had a much fuller life. So I think about that a lot. I'm like, couldn't I have known this when I was in my 30s? But here I am. I'm still happy. But so that's who I serve on a daily. The ages range. Everybody's at different points. Some people are coming in just more for maintenance, and other people are coming in for that full in deep work, and then you have your intermediate. So
yeah, people in different parts of their journey. What do you think I know you have different ages and different genders and people in different walks of life, but what do you see that kind of links all of your, the people that you work with? We try to look at like the little trends, you know what I mean, that we kind of see throughout.
Yeah, most of it is people have had and suffered some type of trauma. And when I say the word trauma, I mean any significant event that's impacted the course of your life. That could be the loss of a spouse. That could be something more severe, but it's any career change. I've worked with that. That can be really hard when you lose a job and you have to go somewhere else, and you lose your identity and you don't know what you should do. Divorce. I work a lot with couples in helping them communicate and bridge gaps to each of them become more themselves, so they're not so enmeshed in each other that they can't have a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that underlying trauma issue usually. in most people I work with.
It sounds like what I'm hearing, you didn't say it, but what I'm hearing is like a loss of identity or a loss of self is kind of what's either underneath or coinciding with this trauma. And so I think it's important to name it in a way where the person who would come to you might think about it. And I don't know if they would exactly name it as that, but I do think they would self-identify with that. And I had another question. I'm just seeing it comes back to me. It didn't come back to me. So
it'll come back at the right moment later in the conversation. But yeah, I mean, it really does sound like, because in all those things you kind of listed, there is that loss of identity and that loss of self, you know, whether it's the loss of a parent because we're finding our new identity, you know, without a parent in our lives to guide us and lean into, or the loss of a spouse or a divorce or change in workplace. I like that you saw that, Lori. I think that's a great line to kind of tie things together. I think that's nice. And the clients that you're working with now, how are they coming to you? You know, are they coming through social media? Are they landing on your website? You know, how do they find you?
Referrals are a big thing. I spend a lot of time in my community and also on my website. And then I would say social media is the last line, and that's more on me than anything else.
okay. The question came back to me. So what makes them ready to come to you now? Is it that they've just recognized? Because I feel like there's a difference between recognizing that they're dealing with some kind of trauma or grief and being ready and or willing to take an action. So can you identify what makes them come to you other than a referral? They would still have to know that they were ready, right? To some degree.
Yeah, I would say they come when they're sitting with themselves and they understand that they're not living the life they want to live. Like when they sit and they look outside of themselves, the vision of what they want for themselves is all the way out there, and they want to bring it home. And they make the decision to choose themselves by coming in.
Okay, and in choosing themselves, it sounds like they might be doing so over choosing other things that they may have prioritized before, whether that's taking care of other people or just other things or avoiding altogether. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. So a lot of it's usually people pleasing, not setting good boundaries, over giving to the point where they're exhausted, not being in mutual relationships of mutual give and take. Yes, those are clear indicators.
Okay. And are there any other trends that you notice while you may work with all genders? Are they parents? Are they young people, teenagers? Anything else that you've noticed?
Parents, definitely. Parents want to be good at what they're doing. So they genuinely want to be better at who they are. Most of them are in relationship because they're trying to figure out how they have a good relationship. And in terms of demographic age, it's anywhere from early 20s to late 60s, early 70s that I'm seeing.
That's helpful, I think. Right, John? I think it's all of us really need to hone in and understand who is in, like when you see that marketing bullseye picture, target audience, that everybody knows that picture. But I feel like we don't really get like, okay, and so what do I do with this stupid picture? The bullseye, it's really a kind thing to do for yourself and your people, whoever you serve. And this goes for Melissa and everyone on the planet who's an entrepreneur, by the way. Really being clear. It doesn't mean that if you serve mostly parents that you don't work with XYZ people. It just means that you're very clear about the people who need you, who are out here struggling, and who you don't want any barriers to getting to. Like if that's the mindset, then you could probably very clearly say, okay, mostly parents, mostly in relationship. I'm talking to people 20 to 60s who have lost their identity. They're now either maybe lost in something or dissatisfied, and they're ready to take an action. So, like, that's a lot more clear. And the moment you hear how clear that is, that's what gets to go on your website. And that's the wording that gets to go on social media, because we always want to know, what do I say on Facebook? What do I post? How the heck do I say it? What do I say in a video reel? It starts with these who, what, and how. And then you kind of reverse engineer starting with those things. So starting with the people. But we have a couple more questions about the who, right?
We do. Yes. And so I want to know a little bit about the journey of your who. So, as they, you get a lot of referrals. I'm sure that's probably, your biggest source of, clientele. But, how do they initially talk to you? Do they book, you have that free call on your website or free consultation? Is that kind of where they start? And then, how do they get in touch with you and how do they move forward?
Some clients do book the free consult first because they're not sure what they want. And we walk through what they're going through and make a determination of what their first contact would be. Or I get a lot of people who just schedule a Reiki session first. And, that's a nice opener to me reading their body and knowing what's going on in their body so that we can make a determination of what their next steps are.
We all have them, those default patterns that show up in our businesses, our leadership, our relationships, especially under stress. It can feel like we're running on autopilot, repeating the same habits without really understanding why. This episode is brought to you by Let's Type About It. Founded by Rachel York, Let's Type About It uses the Enneagram to help you get out of the box of your personality and into a life of intentional growth. By focusing on your core motivations instead of just your behaviors, Rachel provides the clarity you need to communicate more effectively and lead with genuine self-awareness. Whether you're looking for one-on-one coaching or team workshops, it's time to break the habits that keep you stuck. Stop guessing and start growing by visiting letstypeaboutit.com to book a discovery session or listen to the Let's Type About It podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I love hearing you say this. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but I am jotting it down. So if this is your first time listening in, we do not have a script, but we do prepare for about an hour sitting down and looking at Melissa's website and her Facebook and her Instagram. And we've got ideas and we've got questions. So what's so awesome is as soon as you identify things in your who, we're in the what going, now that I've heard this, I wonder if there's a better way to deliver on this what. So, Jonna, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I know she's reading my mind already. It's going in the notes. Melissa, this was fabulous. I just want you to know you're killing it. This is great.
Thank you.
Okay, so now as we talk about the who you're working with, and we kind of keep in mind this coaching program that you are, working on, as we get into the what, we'll kind of define a little bit more. But without diving into that yet, what do you think the barrier is from, people in there now jumping into that coaching program that you have? Is it a different audience? Is it, phrasing of how you're kind of selling the coaching program? What's preventing them?
Oh, it's not them, it's me. I'm not promoting it the way that, like, barely. So that's on me. And I've taken ownership. And I have started to look at some ways to change that. But it's me. Which frustrates me, because to become a practitioner of this program, and I co-created this program with Pine, I went through the program and I know how phenomenal it is and what it did for me. And yeah, it doesn't make sense that you would hold yourself back, but for other solopreneurs out there, look, I can't say the word that you guys can. We talked about this earlier, pronouncing things. You got to remember that what you have is so beneficial for the people that you're trying to serve. So I have to remind myself of that.
Well, I think we'll help remind you as we move forward for sure. But I think that circles back to right at the beginning is like everything that you do is in service of those you are trying to help. And I think keeping that, in your heart as you bring this up and offer this to people, it's, obviously there is some financial gain for you, but that is not your sole purpose. Otherwise, you would not be doing this. You'd be doing something that you could make a ton of money that didn't have any soul and heart in it. And that is not why you do what you do. And so I'm good to kind of start to move into the what, Lori, unless you had any other questions dangling in the who.
No, I think moving into the what is more impactful right now. And then if there's any like dangling questions about who, we can always circle back. But my mind is already in the what, because we've looked at your website, we've looked at your socials, and you've also mentioned to us, and as we've introduced you, there are a myriad of services you offer. And I don't know if there's a question here just yet, but I think what we've noticed when there's people who have some kind of array of services, which is pretty normal, the way in which you deliver what you do to your viewer can be a little too much. Again, most people do this where, like say Jonna, right? She's not as familiar with like say Reiki, EFT tapping, pretty normal. A lot of us don't really know. But if she went to your site, she also wouldn't necessarily know what to do because she doesn't understand it that well. So either I'll tell you what she'll do. She's going to go to the FAQ, point blank. She's an FAQ queen and they're powerful. Or she might book a call because she's the kind of human. We're millennials. We still pick up the phone. You're not going to get Gen Z on the phone, and don't worry because they're not in your target so much. But y'all, if you're listening and Gen Z's in your target, oh my goodness, they will never call you. Okay. Make sure everything's mobile ready. So I think what I wanted to start with is where I'm left is there are a lot of services, but the data you just gave me is so powerful. You said typically people will book a call or book a Reiki, and that you find it incredibly useful to feel what they're feeling, get in their body, get in their mind, have that connection. So I don't know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but I am certainly wondering if there is a more streamlined 1, 2, 3 of working with you that delivers on your commitment to people, but also gives me a way, like a viewer, a reader, to understand how to work with you. And I'm not like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. Like, what do I do? So in my mind, giving people the 1, 2, 3 makes more sense than giving them everything.
Yeah. I think, and I'm going to throw out some things, but thinking about it, you have some people who book the consultation. What percentage of people, like new clientele that come to you, do you think book that consultation call or meeting?
Not many, like 20%. And then there's always the no-shows. So I'd say about 10% show.
Yeah. I think what I would like to see, because we talked about the Reiki being kind of like, more of the overarching thing that people start with, is combining that consultation and that first Reiki session and making it a paid offer, taking the free off the table. So that way they're coming in, they have expectations that they're going to get something out of this consultation, but that's how they start working with you, is that you get to know their body, because you can't really give them custom suggestions or a plan for them until you get to feel their body and understand what they're going through and talk with them. And so instead of having that kind of free consultation, taking the free off the table and, starting with that kind of power service that will get them hooked, that'll help them understand your value. And then you can work with them to come up with something custom. I agree with Lori, kind of looking at the site. It's a little bit of decision fatigue. If someone is new, I think if you have like a seasoned client and they're like, oh, I know exactly what I want, but it's a little bit different because they're probably not even going to your website anymore. They're probably just booking with you and telling you what they're going to do next. And so your website is more in service of those people who are working with you or coming to you from a new place. Does that sound correct?
Oh, I had this like epiphany about that like about a month ago, and I haven't had the energy to figure out how to rework the website, but I was like, this is way too much. I mean, yes, I agree with you 100% that it's overwhelming if you don't know. and it's overwhelming to me. And I know the site, I built the darn thing. So yes. And a word of advice, right? Just because you can and you're in business doesn't mean you should.
I love that.
That's really good advice. I like to tell the story. Before Lori and I came together when we were marketing, I had worked with kind of a high level copywriter, and I decided to redo my whole marketing website. And I was so excited to show it to her. And she's like, you kind of lost the point. Like you embodied all these things that you want to talk about. And she's like, it's very pretty. It's very pretty to read, but it's not serving your audience. It's not serving your who. And I was like, and like I spent so much work on it and I poured so much of myself into it. And then I was like, she was right. Like it was not in service of my who, it was kind of more in service of me, rather, is kind of where I built that from. And so I had to like take a step back and be like, man, I guess I'm just gonna undo what I did and think of it from a different direction this time. And I think sometimes we have, well, all of us as business owners have to do that at some point or many points in our business journey. So a little bit more about your what. So you have the coaching program that you're not really pushing. You're offering individual sessions for your different services. Are you doing any kind of group services or couple services?
I have classes that I do alternating during the month. I have like Unlock Your Intuition class. I do different topics depending on what I'm feeling. That I did a shadow work workshop a couple months ago. I like to do like 1 hour groups just to bring people together because I love the community feel. So yeah, do that. Full moon ceremonies every month. Love connecting with that energy of the moon and teaching people how that helps with intention setting and goal setting.
I like that. Do you think the classes are primarily like current clientele, or is there usually like 1 or 2 new people who come to the classes?
It varies. Sometimes it'll be all current, and then every once in a while I'll get newbies that come in.
And on your website, it looks like they're paying in advance. Is that right?
Correct.
And are you also tracking all their information, name, email, phone number?
Yes, everything gets collected when they register for their class or their service.
Do you use that data to then market the next class to those people?
At times I will email people who have gone to a previous class I think will be interested in another class, or I'll use my newsletter to promote them.
And just to clarify, newsletter goes to basically anyone who's sort of crossed your path or subscribed in some way, shape, or form?
Correct.
Okay. I'm also sort of wondering, because you love community. That's something you made clear on our pre-check call. The first time I ever met you, I was super clear about that with you. Very, very passionate woman and passionate about community. Is there a community you've been like wanting to sort of build? Is there something else that you've been wanting this to kind of like snowball into?
I've been wanting to have like a weekly meetup where people can just talk about their spiritual path and what they're going through on a more casual basis. And I've had a few of my clients ask for it, like, people who are kind of at a different end of the spiritual path, where now it's just kind of like discovering new things and enjoying it and talking with other folks about things that you don't talk to everyday people about. Yeah, that's something I would like. And I would like to do more with writing. So as you know, I published my book of poetry because it was what helped me release or get through a lot of my trauma. And I wanted other people to understand the beauty of writing. So doing more things around how writing it down does get it out of your body and your mind. So, and it's a beautiful process to do. And sometimes it's hard to do by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, Jana is a published author. I know if anyone knows it better, it would be her. I just wanted to ask one point of clarification. Is everything you're doing in person, or are you also doing anything virtually? I
do mostly everything in person. I I would like to move some of my stuff virtually because I can do all of it virtually. But it just happens that most people come to me in person. I think I'm putting that energy out there a lot more. I enjoy the connection with people in person.
I think, I think that makes sense. And for what you do, I completely understand that the in-person has more value than the virtual side of things, because there is just more connection when you are face to face with someone, when you're in the same room as someone and you can feel their energy. I'm a very empathetic person. So typically when someone walks into a room, I can kind of feel how they're feeling, and I'm like, they're in a bad mood. I'm like, okay, I can't be in a bad mood. I can't be in a bad mood, and so I understand that. But I think the concern is, and what we saw, as you talked to us and in your, in your form that you filled out, is that you were running out of time. You're kind of hitting the cap on your own time. You're hitting that ceiling, which leaves no place to grow into, which leaves you kind of like stuck in the same circle. Mm-hmm. And so as we kind of move forward, I want you to think about looking at these things a little bit differently and how we can create some more group things, or even bring in a virtual element that still serves your audience. So I'm hearing, a weekly meetup that you want to do, and, a writing club that you want to do. Those things I feel like could be done virtually or in person. I am looking at your coaching page. I have this up in front of me. And I feel like, so your coaching is still geared kind of individually, which I think is great. But what about if you brought together some of those group elements with the coaching? So instead of, having it be like a monthly program and they get the one-on-one coaching with you, but they also get to come to the group talking sessions and the writing class, and then your time, instead of it just being one-on-one and you're getting financial gain from one person, you have, 4 or 5 people who are in this coaching program who are coming to these group sessions together. Does that sound like something that would serve both you and your audience?
I have considered that. Mm-hmm. In the last month, I've really been organizing how I think I need to spend my time, and understanding that I need to move some things around to make more balance and to have more availability to do the marketing and the outreach that I need to do to maintain a structure. So yes, you are very on point with that recommendation.
We've put a lot of time into looking at what you have, looking at your application, listening to you on the pre-check, and looking at like, what is your pain point, which is time. So for some of us, for many of us, that is true. We only have so much time, and then there's other things in our life that we're doing and honoring and caring for. So we put our heads together and we were wondering, what does a group session look like? Or in terms of your coaching, how does this become this like coaching membership or something bigger, where you're in this thing where you get the one-on-one, you get the group, but that means you can also come to the writing class and or the online community element. Maybe there's a group that people can join to just kind of like share and meet each other, even if they can't go at the same physical time, which doesn't take up more of your life and suck the energy out of you, because you don't really have to manage that people are saying, oh, hello, and this is what I got out of the program, and this is where I'm at, or this is what I'm dealing with, and like, this is what I'm bringing today. I think there are a lot of ways you can streamline. And I think here's the good news: offer less. Because if we're coming to you for help, probably don't know exactly what we need. So if it's like really easy to just be like, you're going to come for the consultation, and then I'm going to tell you what makes sense for you. What makes sense for you is either going to be the membership, the one-on-one, or whatever, whatever the options are after that. In our heads, that takes all of the time that you might be, emotionally drained, mentally drained, spiritually drained. Not that you're not happy, but it can take from you as well, doing so much one-on-one. And now you can give and multiply and serve more people. We thought that would be an exciting shift potentially for you.
Can I talk now? Okay. Yeah, actually been working on that with Di, where we want to break the components up more, because a lot of what part of the program is education, right? It's teaching people skills that you can do in a group that don't need to be done one-on-one, and exercises that go with that. So creating like a portal where some of those areas would be maybe a tier 1, where if this is all you want, then you can join here. And if you want this, you get more. And then having some kind of community component where we have meetups where everyone can kind of come together and talk about their growth or what progress they've had in their process. And I can do some clearings as a group, but the core component of the program is individualized in terms of the clearing. So I would not pull that into a group format, but I can do that in an hour, and I can do that virtually when they've done the other pre-work. So
I love that. I was wondering, because you mentioned someone before, and John and I were also wondering, in terms of who you collaborate with or your referral network, can you maybe speak to who you work with, who might be another type of healer or in an industry that's similar?
Yeah, so I primarily work with Di Pine, who has Diadem Medicine in Lewis. I connected with this beautiful soul about 3 years ago. And I went to her because I saw this underlying relationship theme with a lot of my clients and them not having healthy relationships. And I had heard that she did this phenomenal technique that I had never heard of. It's called the Align Method. And I called her up one day and I was just like, hey, can we talk? I want to know if I can learn this from you. And we met, and it was like magic together. We just fell in love with each other in the most beautiful way. And she was like, well, I started this. Do you want to co-collaborate on it and do it together? Because I think it'll be better with both of our brains than just one. And collaboration is my love language. So I was like, yeah. So we created this program that we call Revolutionary Life. And that's what I reference when I say coaching program. And when I reference her, it's because we did do it together. So we both facilitate out of our own offices. But sometimes if I have a client in Lewis, I would use her office and vice versa. If somebody really wants to do it face-to-face, we'll do it that way.
I love that. We love collaboration over competition. we are big fans of, coming together, and we truly believe that you could serve more people by working together than not working together. So I love that. So your coaching program, so do you both come in and coach together, on the coaching program, or is that solely yours?
We have a pre-component, an educational component that we recorded together, that we send to folks prior to their session that they view before they come in. But then when we have individual clients, they're our clients.
Perfect. I just wanted to understand how that worked. I love that. And then I wanted to circle back to kind of the classes you're offering. And I want to think a little bit about your who and some kind of like nuanced classes that maybe would be, to get more new people in, so I'm thinking you talk about people having kind of relationship, or they're trying to get better in their relationship. Do you offer any kind of group classes or couples classes that could either be group still or, couples together, that would, focus on like strengthening relationships and things like that?
I have not.
Well, you don't have to make that face because this is to help you and think about things that you could do in the future and try. So it's not homework. We're not grading you. I promise. It's just ideas that we have, and we want to hear what you think about them. And
no, I love it. I just was like being cute because I felt like I was at the principal's office for a minute. Like, no, it's like the things you were saying are definitely things I have recognized. And I know when I filled out my questionnaire, you could kind of see that I have been in this burning the candle at both ends. So it's always like, yes, I know I need to do this, or yes, I need to do this. So it's been a matter of me really in the last, I would say 3 weeks, kind of streamlining myself and saying like, these are your must do's. Everything else needs to just wait. Like that's what's going to change the direction of your business to what you need. So you're not doing the candle burn. Right. So that's the new way I've been speaking to myself. Yes, folks, I speak to myself because, you know, I'm by myself. It's a fun game up here sometimes. But that's the new thing that I've been doing. So I think it's being effective. It's starting to work.
Yeah, we have a name for it. We call it focusing on your money-making tasks. And we would advise that everyone look at what leads to the money. And like, if you still feel weird about that, then I would definitely invite you to have a call with us, because there's no need to feel weird if this is your livelihood. So I'm not going to speak too much on that, but you're starting to recognize what makes sense in terms of you actually fulfilling on being able to help people, which means that your business has to make money. You need to make money. And so in alignment with that, I'm wondering, I looked at your website, you know, and I can see that you've got credentials. Not necessarily something I would have known without digging in and looking at your about page. But my assertion is that other social workers and other people who are professionals would like to know that you exist and how to refer to you. There's a lot of power in referral networks, as I'm sure you know, especially in any kind of industry around like healing, trauma, social work, all of that. Is that something that you've pursued up until this point?
For a day. It's like, you know, I believe that, right? I know I have a psych background. I was in that industry for 25 years. I know how to work. I even have a page dedicated to referring back and forth and consent forms and all of that. I would love to work with other practitioners, because I do know that as someone who struggles with depression as well, that having other things other than talk therapy was very helpful to me. And having those tools in my box as well helped me a lot in coming out of some dark places that I've been in. So yeah. And again, it's that time suck. I get distracted, or I go, oh, I'm going to do this class. And then I start creating that class, and then that list goes away, or, you know, I've contacted 20 people. So that's enough. But you know that you have to be more, I know, not you. I know I have to be more persistent and figure that out.
It's all a journey. You know, it's knowing things that need to be done, and it's taking them one step at a time. I think we as people have the habit of like making this huge goal, right, that we're working towards, and like, okay, I got to get from 0 to 3,000, you know, and I'm a huge fan of doing smaller goals. And I never look at, if I don't reach my goal by, you know, the time that I set, I never look at that as a failure, because I'm like, I took this many steps towards that goal. I'm just going to readjust my goal, and I'm going to look at it again and keep working towards it. I never look at it as something negative. I never look at it as I'm a failure because I didn't get this done, because no matter how many steps you take towards your goal, that is still moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's again, I think there's like that perspective that coincides with the action. And I think when we recognize ourselves in a flurry of action, that would be a good cue to check in with yourself. There's like cues we can start practicing, because it's going to keep happening as entrepreneurs. That is normal. Normalize it. I'm in a flurry. I'm not being intentional. Let's take a pause. Go back to the who, go back to the what, go back to the how. That's why these core tenets are in our strategy and coaching programs. This is what we serve our people with when we are in a one-on-one coaching or mentorship or strategy session. It's like, it's very easy to be like shiny object syndrome. I don't know if anyone resonates with that, or like the little fairies who bring the ideas, and then we're like, ooh, got it. You know, it's like, well, I could, but number one, is it a money-making task? And does it fit my who? Number one, that's like what we're on this planet for, is to serve these people. And then does it fit with what I'm doing and how I deliver? So if it does, beautiful. You know, if whatever that Q2, we're in Q2 right now when we're recording this, Q2 of 2026, if that fits your Q2 goal, perfection, run with it, make it, build it. Or if you're like a lot of the people we talk to, you give it to the marketing person that you hire, because most people do not go into business because they love marketing. I would imagine that's true for you too. Not a real lover of Canva designs and writing about yourself and like all of that, right?
I dread it. It's part of my block with social media and why I don't do that a lot. I'm like, I gotta write this stuff. Like I'll journal and write all day in my own little vacuum here. You know, I'm like, this is what I do. I write, and I can't write a social media post. You know, so yes, I had this epiphany moment like a year after I did open my own business, because I really thought, you know, I have this background in operations. I know how to build a site. I know how to fill it. You know, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, right? But in my other world, I had other people market it, right? And I never made that connection. And then it's like, oh, I really don't like this part of it. Yeah.
It can be very difficult because when you start a business and you're a solopreneur, it's every hat falls on you at first, you know, unless you're delegating out. It's you're wearing the operations hat, you're wearing the face of the business hat, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the bookkeeping. And it's like all these little pieces that you're like, oh, I just wanted to do this thing that I love and give back to people. And I didn't realize I was going to have to do this and this and this and this. And sometimes it can be overwhelming, and it gives us kind of this paralysis where it stops us from moving forward, because I'm that person. If something feels so daunting to me, it is really hard for me to start. I will procrastinate and procrastinate until I can no longer procrastinate. and I always get it done, but like I put myself through a lot of emotional and physical torture procrastinating it, because then it gives me anxiety and it slips into my dreams, and then I wake up tired and I don't have energy to do the things that are already on my must-to-do list today, and it gets pushed back again, and it kind of becomes this cycle sometimes.
Oh, it's a consistent one, you know, with the things I don't like. I go to the things, you know, like any human, that's our human nature, right? And so that's when I coach myself, start saying, okay, what would you tell somebody else? Like when I don't want to do something, I have this little thing I do with myself. I'm like, what would you tell your boss? Like, because you're basically your own boss now, right? What would you tell your own boss that you just don't feel like doing this? Like, this doesn't resonate with you. So then I go, okay, and I do it.
I love that. That's a great little mindset trick. I feel like we forget that we really are the CEOs and the boss of our own company, and we have to respond to ourselves in the same way.
Yeah.
I like that too. I think that's cool if anyone's listening, and you know, that's like another fun trick up your sleeve, you know. I like that. And I found that if it doesn't work, the solopreneurs, we have our own fun, unique flavor of stuff. We tend to be on Solopreneur Island a little more than we need to be. Jonna and I can kind of act like bosses for people. I don't know if that tracks, but the way that we work when we are mentoring someone is like, sometimes it's nice to have someone else to report to besides your own brain. So it's kind of funny to say, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, what a difference, instead of like just me being like, okay, gotta do this stupid thing in the day that I don't love, but it's a money-making task. So I just wanted to share, because I find that a lot of our clients just, they start to actually do things when they're not the only one watching themselves. But I love that you've got all these amazing things, because you are yourself, Melissa, a writer, a journalist, like you've got all these amazing skills. But again, it's like, we're not our own marketer. Even Jonna and I have people on our own team or people we turn to when we're trying to execute our own stuff. It's not just a you thing. It's like for anyone trying to do your own stuff, it's always the hardest. And I will also say, when I met Jonna, we have a cool story. I'm sure we'll share about it on another podcast episode one day, of how we know each other. But she is everything I'm not. And it's really special to have someone, and this is like a really key thing in business that I think solopreneurs sometimes forget is if you can't be that person, whether it's marketing or whatever, you've got to find someone smarter than you. That's also a part of it. You don't have to do every single thing alone. And that's why I like to talk about referral networks, collaborations, and thinking about like on your website, you've got things that other people sell. And when you think about like a center for wellness, you could have other people paying rent. Now that's a big down the line goal, but I think there's probably other ways. If you really look back at your who from this conversation of what could they be doing in service of the who that you're both, this is your website, this is your company. So my assertion is you take some kind of something from the service or from the product sale that might make more sense, given you might have a new membership or a new community where now they're already a yes, they're paying your service. So then upselling a class, service, product, tarot card, oil, whatever makes sense for them, makes sense for you all. And it's more money in your pocket, which means you don't have to, the financial piece isn't so much of a question mark all the time because now you've got several streams coming into the same thing. So that was a lot to say. John and I had that in our mind too for you.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I see it.
It's a lot to process. It's a lot. So, I just want to invite people who, if you're listening or watching, can you like drop a little love note for Melissa? It's a lot to process live. She doesn't know what we're saying. She didn't know what we planned. She wasn't prepared to just be like, great, like, let me go change 50 things on my website. I'm super excited. Like, she put her butt on the line to be really authentic and honest in service of her and you. So if you haven't dropped her a little love note, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, please do that. She deserves all the love coming back in her direction because it's not easy to hear all these things essentially live and all at once. So I hope that, Melissa, you're feeling the love because you really should. The work that you do is transformative. And we just want to make sure we're a little part in you reaching more people and helping the people you're on the planet to help.
Thank you. Yes, I do feel supported. Like, this is why I wanted to do this. I knew that I have blind spots. Just like people come to me to learn, I go to other people who are specialists in seeing things that you can't see. It's always harder to see your own things. And there is accountability to this now. I've spoken it out loud to the universe and to all of you. So there's a level of accountability now to take action. And I love that. I like that. And that's, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. I don't think so.
No, I think it's fabulous. And we just want to close out by thanking you so much for being here. You said that you wanted people to listen to this and feel like they know that you've been there and that they're not alone. And I think you did that for a lot of people today. And, we've kind of broken down some barriers. We've looked at some strategies. We've looked at some of the shoulds that were, kind of in your head that that now you're going to put them on paper and you're going to start executing. And so I want to have you look at this with a fresh light, and you're in front of your ideal client. And I want to hear you sell your coaching program for us. At the very end of this, I just want to hear a little pitch, keeping your audience in mind and knowing that you are serving others.
Now?
Right now.
I'm on stage. Okay. If you're struggling with continuing to repeat the same patterns and you want to see a life that's more full and you want to be more aligned with who you are, I have a wonderful coaching program that will help you break those patterns and become more aligned with yourself.
I love that. And where can they find you?
At www.wholeheartedstudio.net.
I love that. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this and you're like nodding along, you love what you do, your clients love you back, and somehow it's just not translating into that financial stability that you built your business for, we want to talk to you. Head over to becomethrive.com to apply to be a guest. The link is in the show notes, and all of Melissa's links and everything we talked about today will all be in the show notes. We will be straight with you about what we see. Even if it's not quite what you were hoping to hear, that's the whole point. So we really invite you to stop pretending everything is fine, and let's get to work. We will see you in the next episode.
Success is a lie if you're failing inside. You can't grow a business you hate.